Today on the What's in My Head podcast, I have a Miss Olivia Hack. One of my favorite secondary characters, and I don't mean that to be dismissive at all. I loved Hey Arnold. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. We're just going to get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
How did you get to be a part of probably Nickelodeon's greatest cartoon?
You think so? Greatest?
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
there's quite a few out there. I'd like to say it's in my top 5, but it beats out Rocco. It beats out
Okay.
Invader Zim.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Beats out Cat Dog and anything else I could possibly think of. This one
I
is
love
at the
it.
top.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think 11 or I had just turned 12 when I started Hey Arnold. And I mean, just like you do everything, you just audition and, whatever. But Hey Arnold was cool because most of the time now it's become a little more popular, but like especially back in the day, they didn't use real kids because there's limitations and they have to do school and all this stuff. And so it was really cool to be in an all kid cast, and we did it for so long that like you grow up with those people, and yeah, it's an excellent experience.
What When you went and read for these, did you read specifically just for Rhonda, or did you try other characters?
Are you asking me something that happened when I was 11 years old?
Oh yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, typically when they're casting like a pilot for a show, you would probably read for like 3 or 4 characters. So I might have.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I probably did, but I don't know.
It's okay. There's things that I can and there's things that I can't remember. Generally, if it has anything to do with food, comic books, cartoons, TV shows, I can recall it like
Nice.
that. Anything that would make me money, like math, science, social studies, anything like that, it just gone forever. So I can completely understand.
Totally.
Now, was there a more richer name than Rhonda Wellington Lloyd?
I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty posh, right? It's
I mean,
it's
it's
pretty
on the
fancy.
nose for sure.
Yeah. And you have to say the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
just say Rhonda or Rhonda
No.
Lloyd. It's Rhonda
No.
Wellington Lloyd.
Yes.
So, what was it like? Because you said before then it wasn't really kids doing this because of school and everything like that.
Mm.
What was some of your favorite memories just looking back? Like, oh man, you know?
I don't know. I remember the What's Opera Arnold episode because we all kind of did that together and sang together and everything. And I can't sing to save my life. But yeah, I mean, just it's kind of the whole thing as a whole. Like, was just great, and also too, it's rare for like a cast to record together.
Mm-hmm.
So like usually you kind of just scheduling and whatever, you'll just record all your stuff separately. And so when you are able to record as a cast together, you just are able to act better because you know what the other person's what their delivery is, so you can respond to that. Um, and it just has such a better flow,
Yeah.
because some of the times you read these lines and you're like, maybe you read the script, maybe you didn't. You don't always know what's you laugh, but
Yeah.
and so like people always tell me like I did Avatar,
Yeah.
that other Nickelodeon show,
Yeah.
and people go, "Oh, the script." I'm like, I never read an Avatar script. I had no idea I was a bad guy until like 10 years after that show came out. I had no clue. I was like, I didn't read the scripts, but Arnold, I did. But yeah, so that whole thing was just great. But like, we would have fun guest stars. Like, I remember when like Jacqueline Bisset came in, and all the guys were like really excited because they were like, "Have you seen the Deep and the wet T-shirt?" But yeah, it was just like collectively really fun. And then doing the Jungle movie was super fun.
Fantastic movie. That movie hit me so hard in the feels when
Right?
Arnold's parents come back. You're like, because you get I guess led along to saying like, oh, these guys, they're dead, they're
Mm-hmm.
gone throughout the show, and then you start seeing hopes of glimmer, and you never really want to. I guess I don't want that much hope, and then it just turns out to be they were really gone the entire time. But when they come onto the stage, you're just like, oh, he found his parents, and it's just like, oh man, it was just so well done. And like I said, a 31-year-old guy, it hit me right in the feels. So
Oh, I'm so glad. I am so happy about the movie because like they do all these reboots and whatever, and you're like, no, please, like, don't remake whatever the craft they're doing right now or whatever it is. But you're just like, stop it. And Hey Arnold, a lot of the times they do those things and it's like unnecessary. Like Hey Arnold was left open-ended, you know, so I feel like so there was an opening for that. But also because Craig Bartlett, who created Hey Arnold, is so involved, and it's really like a testament to him and his vision. That whole movie, because he tried to get that made for decades, you know, and just the art is great.
Yeah.
The fact that they brought back the cast, the writing, Jim Lang still did the music again. Like it really has that same feeling. It doesn't feel like it feels like a continuation,
Yeah.
not some weird thing that they just like some cash grab, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I'm super happy with that movie.
Now, you brought up two names really. Craig, thank you for making this cartoon, but Jim for the music. There was not a cooler soundtrack or a cooler room. I always wanted Arnold's room growing
Oh,
up.
it's the
Yeah, that
best. Everybody did,
skylight.
right?
It was amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah, the flip down bed.
Yeah, and then what do you have his alarm clock with his Hey Arnold, Hey Arnold, it was plugged into a potato. So I like that whole aesthetic, but the music is really what set it off. Like, and this is before I even really understood what music kind of really was, and I still don't really know what it is, but it's something that hooks you. And then you've got the scripts and the characters, and everybody is just so well done.
It's so interesting you say that though. So many people have mentioned like the music as being the thing, you know, or the thing that like got them into music, or it's really interesting. I mean, it's great music, but it's interesting like what people hook into, you know. And there's so much just like I don't know, you know. I think with kids programming in general, like there's just so much garbage, and especially now we kind of have this like ADD culture of just like bing zang boom, you know. And so to have like real stories with like a real soundtrack, which is now available on vinyl, by the way. But yeah, I mean that's part of what makes like Hey Arnold so special, and also just like real life storytelling. You know, it's like, oh, you know, even Rhonda, like Rhonda goes broke, or like, you know, I think who is it? Was it Lila who's like homeless, or like there's like real Arnold gets mugged. You know, I mean like there's real life lessons getting learned, which is and like kind of like hard truths about the world, which is also always like not confronted always in kids programming. So yeah, it's nice in that way.
You were supposed to be the second person from the cast that I was going to have on, but Justin, he did Harold. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I'll end up butchering it, and I always like that.
Shankaro.
Yes, that's that. I was trying to clap it out, you know, before I asked, and I always ask, like, "Hey, man, how do you guys pronounce your name?" Because my name's Julian, but everybody calls me Justin for some reason.
Okay.
You know, so I never like making people's names messed up. But when I was going to talk to him, because he had two episodes that really just come to mind, is when he saved the kitten. I don't know if you remember that episode. And he was kind of bunkered in his room, and he wouldn't give the kitten up.
I do kind of remember this. Yeah, now that you're saying.
And then the other one is I can't remember how he got there, but he started working with Mr. Green in the butcher shop, and then he loved it so much after hating it, and then he tried stealing meat so he could stay. And then Mr. Green was like, "Nah, I know what you're trying to do." He's like, "You've learned your lesson," type of thing.
Yeah.
And as a 12-year-old seeing this, it's like, man, it really seems like it's not just a cartoon to veg out to. It's meant to tell us something, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Did you notice that? I mean, like you said, you don't really remember too much because you're 11, and most people wouldn't. But do you remember like when this cartoon was going on? You're like, we're on to something here, or this is something more than just a cartoon.
I mean, I knew it was a good show, you know, and I mean, from what I recall, like I actually watched it as well. It's weird because, and this is like kind of to your question, but I don't know, it's moving around. Like now, because of social media and whatever, and there's more just kind of like fan interaction, and I don't know, you just know more about the projects you're working on. But like back in the day, you didn't really know that stuff was popular or like hitting. I know that sounds weird, but like you're like, oh, I mean, we keep doing seasons of this, so I guess somebody's watching it. But you don't really like know how it's like culturally or otherwise kind of affecting people. So it's cool years later to like those kids have grown up, right? So that's neat. But B, yes, C, like there's Hey Arnold stuff at Target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like it's really interesting.
It's a great time to be a fan.
It's a great time to be a
Yeah.
fan. Yeah. Um, yeah. So it's cool to see that like hits home with people now because I
Mhm.
didn't know it then. You know,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Yeah.
When you were, what was like I always like asking, especially like the child actors when you guys were doing this, what was like a normal day-to-day life like for you? I mean, did you guys do school on the set, or did you guys have to go to school, or how did that whole process work for you?
So with Arnold, we would do that once a week and we would do it after school.
Okay.
So like per law, there still has to be a teacher there,
Mhm.
teacher slash like guardian basically, just to like make sure nobody's, everybody's following the rules and whatever.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't do school on set there. I mean, typically you would if you were doing like a TV show or something, but because voiceover sessions are only 4 hours, they do it at like 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and then you just would do the whole thing. But yeah, but it's a cool thing to do to have that like regular stability. Like once a week, you go in and you do this
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, super cool.
Now, did you go to school with any of the original cast when you guys did go to school, or were everybody pretty separate?
Yeah, super separate. I mean, LA is so big,
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody comes from everywhere here.
Yeah.
The idea that you'd be in the same school district is like slim to none.
I think it'd be just like it's like one of those things you think back like, man, these guys are doing this
They all hung
cartoon
out.
and they're going to school in the same time. They're all cutting up. Gerald's over there telling stories on the sidewalk. Wishful hope, wishful thinking, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
Um, when when it wrapped, were you guys surprised, or when they said you guys weren't going to be doing it anymore? Were you guys surprised, or?
I don't think so, because honestly, like it would be hard for me to recall. You would probably know better than me, like what year that actually ended. But I was probably like,
2004?
is that
Maybe.
true?
Shit, I'm looking it up now. I'm really horrible with years.
2004. So
I
I
know
would
it
have been like,
started in
no, that can't be it.
'99. Yeah, it started in '96. Excuse me, '96 to 2004. So.
Not 2004. Really?
Oh man, you
Maybe.
can't see
I,
it.
I
You
wonder
can't see
if
it.
there was like a special, and that's why they're saying 2004 or something.
Yeah, just the
Maybe it
final
was.
lap.
It was on for a really long time. So yeah. So I was probably like 17 when it ended. So no, I mean, or 18. So yeah, that's a really long run in
Yeah.
animation, and I think they went over because for now syndication doesn't exist. RIP to residuals. But back then, you needed 100 episodes for syndication,
Yeah.
which is 5 years or whatever. And I think we went over that.
Yeah.
So anytime you go over 5 years, that's just like an amazing like gift, miracle gift anyway.
Now,
So
just
no,
just
I
with
don't think I was
cartoons,
surprised. What'd you say?
just with
With
cartoons, or is
everything.
with everything?
With
Okay.
everything, yeah. So like if something is only went 3 seasons, like you wouldn't typically see that as like a syndicated show. Again, now there's no repeats ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like typically how the structure used to work.
Now you had mentioned earlier. Oh shit! I lost my train of thought here for a second. Damn it. You went the 8 years, or yeah, it was '96 to 2004. And with everything coming back, right? So we had Invader Zim come back and Netflix. And if you can't talk about anything you're working on for this show or anything in general, just
Okay, yeah,
come up with a safe word. Just let me know. I won't push the topic or issue.
for sure.
But Rocco came back for a little special on Netflix, and so did Invader Zim. Little 90-minute movie, just to recap on where they're at now. Have you guys been approached at all to, you guys did that Jungle movie a few years ago, but to
So
bring
I
it back?
think what happened, I mean, should I say this? I don't know. I'll just be honest. Like I think basically, so they debuted. What they were going to do was they were going to do the Hey Arnold movie, the Rocco movie, and the Zib movie, and they were all going to air on Netflix. And then I think what happened was they aired the Arnold one first, and they aired it like the day after Thanksgiving or something, and it wasn't really like, or it might have even been on Thanksgiving. It wasn't really like the appropriate like slot necessarily, and they
Yeah.
didn't quite like promote it the way they should. We did a little promotion, like we all went to New York Comic Con and did some stuff for that, some interviews and stuff. But it's like, I mean, this is my like delusions of grandeur, but I'm like, where's the Hey Arnold Macy's Day parade float? You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
they're gonna have this, special that they've pumped all this like time and energy and money into, and so the ratings were okay, but they weren't like spectacular for that.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that's why Zim and Rocco ended up getting released on Netflix, which is probably what should have happened with Arnold to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think the idea was, or the hope was, that Arnold would um, come out, be this smash, and then get picked up and roll into a series. And then
Yeah.
that, didn't happen or whatever, which is unfortunate and also kind of like odd, only because from my standpoint, they have a built-in audience. They're still pushing merch.
Yeah.
Like we were saying at Target or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's odd to me that they have that sort of thing happening, but then they don't like have the content to, I mean, I guess they just have a million episodes, but like, yeah, it's weird to go to all that trouble and then just kind of like leave it like DOA.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what what Nickelodeon's plan is. I mean, I think for a while they were talking that way, but like, yeah, I think it's weird. I don't know what Nickelodeon's doing. It's very odd to me.
We need an inside man or woman, a mole, if you will, over at Nickelodeon to figure out what they're doing. Or we got to start pushing buttons and get this show back on the air. Is what I'm really saying. Now you brought up the it was the meat play, the fruits and veggies, the pyramid in the beginning of it. Hold on.
What?
So I don't know if you remember, but you guys said you were singing. You remember you guys all had to dress up?
Yes.
Was that the first time you had sang, with like on a TV show or on a cartoon, or?
I think I had done like one other little something, but I mean, yeah, I'm not a singer. I will never get hired as a singer. I audition for stuff all the time for animation, and it'll be like, must sing. It's like,
damn.
I mean, they can pitch you in whatever, but like, if they want a singer, if they want to hire a singer, they're not hiring me. I am not that person for that.
Now, is it I'm not a singer at all. My voice is annoying, if you couldn't tell. But when it comes to is it like just a different skill set, or do you have to be able to sing? Is it singing in character different than singing? I mean,
yeah, I mean, because it's not your it's more difficult, right? Because it's like not your natural pitch.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not singing in your natural. Oh God, I had to do this project once. This thing called Open Season 2. There was like an original. It was the second one. Anyway,
it's a good movie. I'll watch it with my son.
And I was a like a Southern Cocker Spaniel or something. And then at the very end, after I had done all my whole part, they were like, and you're going to like, over the credits, we're going to have all the characters sing. And I was like, oh shit. And it was like, it was a song you would know. It was like a cover of a song. And it was just, I mean, your ears would have bled. It was so bad because I was singing in character as this, I don't even remember what the voice was, but this Southern Cocker Spaniel, and you're just singing, and you're like, because you're not singing in your natural register, so it's a shit show. But yeah.
So I talked to another voice actress, Renee Jacobs, the other day, and she played the original April O'Neil on the 87 part. Damn it, man, I can't talk today. The 87 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Nice. And then she said something that I thought was super interesting, because whenever I do one of these podcasts, I always go back, and usually either right after or within the first day, I go back and listen to see, should I have shut the hell up more? Should I have asked better questions, just so I could get better? And then she told me she never watched an episode of anything she ever did. Are you the same way, or?
So like, it depends on the thing, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, no. Like sometimes more likely if it's on camera,
Hmm.
um, because it's the same thing as you said, just like performance level.
Yeah.
Um, Animation comes out so far after we record it that it's, at that point it's kind of like moot, you know.
Yeah.
But also like I remember I do feel like I watched Hey Arnold. Avatar I did not watch at all,
No.
and that was like it was like I don't know, 8 years after that show was on, and I went to a Comic-Con in like Australia and New Zealand, and I thought they had flown me out there for other stuff, you
Yeah.
know, because I've done other stuff. I don't know. And everybody was there for Avatar, and I had just like not even thought about this show. I had no idea it was popular. I had no clue. I had no clue anyone even knew what this show was. Because there wasn't like a lot of merch for it. It wasn't some big toy show. There weren't toys at McDonald's or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody ever mentioned Avatar to me. I had no clue. And then recently it was released this summer on Netflix,
Oh yeah.
re-released or whatever. And then now because of COVID or whatever, it's like the longest running show ever in the top 10 on Netflix. Like it had an explosive summer. And I was just like, so now I've seen all of season 1 and part of season 2, and I'm working my way through it.
We're about tied with as far as we've got.
Okay.
My kid,
Okay.
my kid talk. I joined the Navy pretty close to when this came out. Then I got out, and then it's just one of those things. There's so much content out there right
There's
now
so much.
between
Yeah.
Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and then you've got regular cable. And if you like sports, there's sports on there too now, to an extent. And then so
You
my
can't keep
kid and
up
I,
with it all. It's
you can't.
impossible.
I mean,
Yeah.
like there's certain things that if it's on, it's on. Like I'll go and record all of my NBA games for my team, the Magic. So I'll record all those and watch them when I can. But my kid just kept saying, "You got to watch this. You got to watch this. This is good. This is good. This is good." And I'm like, "All right, I guess so." And then my friends were saying it, and then we started watching. I'm like, "Wow, my kid wasn't lying to me. This is actually really good." Right?
Yeah, and supposedly like so after season 1, that's when it gets serialized, you know,
Mhm.
and so then it really starts like picking up the pace. Yeah, supposedly I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna cry. So it's good, but yeah, I had no clue about that. And then yeah, I mean I'll watch things, but I'm definitely not a you kind of just like do it and forget about it, you know. Which also sometimes you feel guilty about because it means so much to some certain people, and you're
Yeah,
like, I don't
you can only
know.
do what you can do.
Yeah, but Hey Arnold, I have like very strong feelings for just because I think that show is like very heartfelt, and I mean, it's like a Vietnam Christmas episode. You know what I mean? Like no one's doing that stuff. Like what? Outrageous. It's great. So yes. So to answer your question, yeah, I don't typically watch stuff, but sometimes I do.
Now, are you? This is probably about as most personal questions I'll ask you. Are you an only child, or do you have
I am
siblings?
an only child.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, what was it like being like, oh, look at I'm on or not Cartoon Network. I'm on a
No.
cartoon. I'm on Nickelodeon.
Totally only child.
Oh man,
Yeah.
did you do it to mom or dad? Like, hey man, I'm on TV.
No, because I think those are the kids that so when you're a kid actor, you're surrounded by a lot of cool kids, and then you're
Yeah.
surrounded by some total nightmares.
Hmm.
And so I think it's those kids that are told like you're special, people are jealous of you,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and that's where you breed like the Lindsay Lohans and the whatever. And you get into like a kind of
And a vacuum.
tricky situation there. Yeah, you just like you don't want to breed an egomaniac, and
Yeah.
so and that's a really easy thing to do. And so because there people are telling you you're great and all that sort of thing. And yeah, so a lot of times it's the parents' job to kind of like not make their kid feel like shit, but like overly tell them that they're not special.
Yeah,
If
you
that makes
humble them.
sense.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this story. So I got a 10-year-old. He does karate, and then a few weeks ago, he won his first tournament ever for
Aw,
karate. He got first place, and the trophy is almost as big as him, right? So he slept with the trophy for 2 nights in his bed,
adorable.
and then he came out, and I've told the story a couple times. So sorry, guys, that you're listening again, but he found out that he was sixth in the state in point fighting, only because he's done one tournament and he scored so many points. So he was just walking around, you know, rolling his shoulders. He's like, I'm sixth in the state. I'm sixth in the state.
Ha.
And it's like, all right, man, go up and scoop the litter box and take your cat's shit and throw it outside.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you instantly got to humble him. And you're not going to walk around the house with his little chest puffed out. You know, don't worry
yeah,
about
yeah.
that, you know? So I completely understand what your parents would do. And that's good, man, because it's so hard to fall down that rabbit hole. When everybody's telling you shit don't
Totally.
stink, you know, you're just like, oh man, I'm better than everybody else. And you
Mm-hmm.
seem really well grounded. And I like that, man. But so with Arnold and with Avatar, which one at this point in your career do you get recognized for more? What questions do you get asked more about, Arnold or Avatar?
I mean, right now, because Avatar had such like a crazy summer. Sorry, my brain is not working. Because Avatar had such a crazy summer. Avatar for sure.
Mm.
But I get a lot of Arnold, and I get a lot of, which is a weird thing now. And I guess it's because, again, it's like every 10 years when people grow up or whatever. I did a show called Bratz that was based on those like terribly
Yeah.
slutty dolls. And those people can fuck right off because they never paid us, so whatever.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Write your comment, ladies
No,
and
no, no, it's whatever. But I get a lot of stuff from that, which is weird. But I think again, like I probably did that show when I was 24, and so now I'm 37, so it's been 13 years. So all those kids that were 10 years old watching it are now
they're having kids now
23, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And so those are the people also too that like reach out on social media or whatnot, which is cool. It's just cool to be part of people's childhoods. But again, it's one of those shocking things where you're like, oh, because again, you'll hear nothing about something for 10 years and then it'll pop back up. And I'm just getting a lot of stuff from Bratz right now, which also too, which is just weird, and it's funny, it's great. But yeah, so Hey Arnold, Bratz, and Avatar, and Avatar for sure right now is just very
it's real hot right now
of the moment. Yeah.
Were you ever a My Little Pony fan?
Oh yeah, big time.
So you obviously know bronies, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't understand that fat. I really don't.
I mean, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, you know.
Me neither. You get off what you get off on, or you like what you like. You know, no sweat off me. But do you guys have the same male equivalent? Not to the level of a brony, but do you guys have for brats? Or have you ever had some guys?
Not for brats. People keep calling. Okay, so I'm not like well versed in anime. Like I know some phrases or whatever. I don't know if you are or not.
I watch them too. That's about it.
Okay, yeah. People keep like calling like Tylee like I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. It's spelled waif, WAIF with a U. So I'm pronouncing it waifu. So they say that, and then like they really like have this like fantasy where she's in this like lesbian relationship with Azula, which I'm like, sure, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like as far as that goes. It's
There's
like
a lot of fan fiction, is what you're telling me.
People really ship that that whole little lesbian dynamic, which you know works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as that sort of no, I mean the bronies are like they have conventions and stuff. I mean
it's insane.
Like a whole other it's insane. I mean, again, cool.
I used to work with a guy and he tried converting me, and I was on board until he told me that, hey man, we could dress up together and go to these conventions. I'm like, it's hot in Florida enough. I don't need to be in a suit.
What's the like? Do they watch the show or do they just like to dress up, or like what is the thing? Do you know?
He liked to watch the show, but there was also I think a comic book series is what he was talking about, because they made My Little Pony comic book series. And then I don't know if it translated into a My Little Brony series, but there were quite a few male characters, or male characters, because he had these weird names for them. But I don't know if it was just something he created, but it was just something, I don't know if it was just him just trying to be different and then he met a whole bunch of friends, or it was just something he really, really liked, because he didn't have any sisters or brothers. Yeah, he didn't have any sisters or brothers. It was just him growing up. So I don't know. Very nice.
Isn't it so interesting, like why that show, like why that show and not it's so interesting what people hook into, and you just don't know, you know. I mean, sometimes you know you're doing something, you're making something fun. Like I always say, so I did these movies in the 90s called the Brady Bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Little
like
movies,
when,
right?
yeah,
Little movies. Just a
and
Brady Bunch.
whatever. And when we did the first one, like we all had a, like people were like, "Oh, I love that movie." And I was thinking this recently, like we all had a really good time making that. Like we had a fucking blast.
Mm-hmm.
Like people always say, "What's your favorite thing you did?" And I always say that first and Hey Arnold second.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. And the second one,
What made it so fun?
we had a great director. We were all just like, it was kind of like everybody's first, for the kids, like everybody's first movie. We were dancing. We had all these, crazy costumes. Like it was just like a Brady Bunch. I mean, it was all just very surreal and fun. We
Yeah.
had a really good time. We all got along, just like one of those things where just like everything
Everybody
works
clicks.
out,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second one, like the script was bad, other things, it just like, I shouldn't say the script was bad, but it wasn't as good. And like
Yeah.
it was a sequel, and yeah, so it just like there were a lot of things that didn't click on that one, and it's just not as good of a movie. And we knew we were not making a good movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so sometimes it's like, do you know you're making a pile of shit? And you do. A lot of the time you do. I don't mean to like rag on that movie too much because it's not awful, like it's watchable.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're making a bad thing, and when you're making a good thing, know. A lot of the time you don't always know that people are gonna like what they're gonna hook into, like My Little Pony or whatever. But yeah, it's just interesting, that thing of like whether you're making something good or not. Usually you do.
When that movie came out, like, was it difficult to go out when everybody saw it, and Brady Bunch had kind of boomed again?
Yeah.
Was it hard going out, or were you just getting like, oh man, that's Cindy, or was it?
No, I mean that would happen a bit, but like also too, like I had a wig on in that movie, you know what I mean, and I wasn't like super recognizable, and yeah, no, I mean not in any way that's like, also I live in Los Angeles, you know what I mean, I don't live in a small town where that would be a different kind of situation. But no, I definitely got recognized for sure, but like not in any like some Beatles way or something.
There's Ringo. But
but no, super super fun. Yeah, very fun.
So you brought up LA a few times. What's your favorite place to eat at in LA? What's your favorite place for tacos?
I was just gonna, oh my God, I was just gonna say I'm like a taco girl, right? So I'm actually trying out some new, it's like 17 miles from where I live, but there's some new taco place that's supposed to be, or I don't know if it's new, but it's new to me. It's supposed to be like very legit in the hood. So I'm gonna go there this weekend. Love Cactus Tacos. There's a couple of those locations. What'd you say?
You said Nopale Tacos, the Cactus Tacos?
Yeah. No, it's literally called Cactus Tacos. They don't really have Cactus Tacos, but it's called Cactus Tacos.
Oh, okay, because I work.
I know what you mean.
So yeah, I couldn't get past those. They're very. It's almost like okra. They're very slimy. So I didn't know what you're talking about.
I like a good greasy carnitas or an El Pastor.
Oh man, those are the best.
Yeah, that's like my jam. You know what I mean? I always got to add some avocado on there.
Have you had a birria taco before?
What's a beer taco?
So a birria taco is a short rib taco, and then they take it, they chop it up, then they throw raw white onion and then cilantro, and then they take your tortilla, they dip it in the braising liquid, right? Then they put that on a flat top, fold it over in half so it's crispy. It is.
This is what I'm getting this weekend.
Oh, they are fantastic.
And what's it called?
It's called birria. I can't roll my R's. I'm super vanilla.
Oh, I can't roll my R's either.
But it's Birria.
Oh, it's terrible. Wait. Okay, so that's literally what I'm getting from this place called Pappy Los Angeles, and then there's this like dipping sauce that comes with. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's the braising liquid. That's the same thing they dip your tortilla in. So it's like a French dip, but for tacos.
That's what I'm literally looking at this right now. They're like dipping you can't see, but they're dipping the taco. Yeah. So that's what I'm going this weekend.
Yeah, right? I made those a couple weeks ago. They're fantastic. Everybody destroyed it. So.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the best taco ever.
Is it called a Birria, Biria.
Yeah, everybody pronounces it beer, but like I said, I'm vanilla as I get complex
Okay.
mayo. So fantastic, you're gonna enjoy it.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Are you adventurous when it comes to food?
Yeah, there's like really, people can. I don't want to like rag on them too much, but I hate picky eaters.
Yeah.
And so I will kind of eat any. I don't really have any food limitations or anything like that. I'll eat anything. I don't like grapefruits.
Oh, I don't blame you. They're very sour.
They're just very bitter,
Yeah.
and like it's hard for me to think of things that I don't like. Like I'll kind of eat everything. I like.
Have you had beef tongue tacos yet?
I have. Yeah.
They're fantastic. So
yeah.
Those ones I always tell people if you've never had a beef tongue taco. Yeah. Lingua tacos, yeah.
There you go.
They're fantastic. They smell horrible when you're cooking them, but they taste so damn good.
Oh, do they?
Oh, I mean, because you got to boil them a little bit, and then you peel the skin off the outside of the cow's tongue. It's disgusting looking, but they're fantastic tacos. What I always like talking food with whoever I'm interviewing, because I was a fat kid since day one. But what do you remember if what they fed you, or you said it was after school, so I don't know if you guys would have a whole bunch of food on the set for anything you guys would do. What was the best meal you ever had on the set, I guess is what I'm asking.
I remember once on a TV show I was doing, they brought in like lobster, and I don't even remember why. Like if it was
this when Rhonda was born? I'm feeling the Wellington was right here.
Like Hey Arnold, I feel like they never had food. Like maybe they'd have some like crudité, like some baby carrots or something. Yeah. But on a set, they're required to feed you like literally a hot meal, even if it's like 100 degrees out, because it's a union thing. But yeah, for some reason on some set they had like lobster, and it was really great. It's funny because it really varies, like, and you would think sometimes on certain shows where you're like, this is a network TV show, they're gonna have like great food, and they're like running out of water, and you're like, what is going on? And then other stuff, it just depends, like what's important to the producers, right? I guess. But yeah, it's always craft service is always fun.
But how about you? Have you been in LA your entire life?
Yeah, I grew up in LA. And I have to leave, like, I have to go on a big trip like once a year, or I lose my mind just because I'm from here. But now there's no traveling.
Where do you like to go?
Southeast Asia is like my favorite. I really love Asia. But my favorite place ever in like the whole world was New Zealand. It's so incredible there. But yeah, I love Asia just for like the food. It's the best food. It's incredibly inexpensive.
Oh yeah.
The people are like so kind. You can get an amazing hotel in the middle of a city for $45 a night. It's like hard to beat like stuff like that. So yeah, as like beautiful as Europe and all that is, and it is lovely. Whenever I go anywhere, my husband's always like, do we have to go back to Asia? I'm like, yes, because you just get spoiled. You're like, but I can have a massage every day because it's $12. It's like that sort of thing. It's really enticing, and it's beautiful too. So, but yeah, the food is just like, oh my God, out of this world.
Have you gotten to go to Thailand yet?
I have never been to Thailand.
You want to talk? I can't remember. They had a nickname for it. It's like the land of 1,000 smiles. It's something land of smiles. Everybody's always just so happy there. Probably the craziest food experiences I've ever had have all come from Thailand. So you'd walk off the boat, and then there's street vendors like I've never seen street vendors before.
That's where you get the best food is on the street.
And some of the weirdest stuff. So I got Thailand was the first place I ever actually had bugs. So I had the larva. I couldn't, the consistency alone, it made me want to gag. Flavor was great, but it was just like, have you ever had tofu?
I was going to say, I feel that way about intestines.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's chewy but soft, but there's something there that is just a gag factor. The
consistency is tough. Yeah.
Yeah. However, right after that, and I wanted to throw up, there's another guy selling spiders, and I'm deathly afraid of spiders, so I didn't go anywhere near that one. However, it was the first place it was some kind of a cricket. It was a little bit bigger than a regular cricket. and I've had them in Mexican cuisine as well, but it tasted like a spicy potato chip, and they were
It's just however they cook, whatever they cook it
yeah,
in, kind of
yeah,
like you said, like tofu, it just kind of absorbs that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was really really good. And then you're just walking down, and by the time I've hit 5 or 6 food stands, I've literally spent $9 American because it was like 1 to 45 baht over there, some crazy shit
It's
like that.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You live
And
like
you
a
can
king
eat
or a
so
queen.
well.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's hard to go back. I
Yeah,
mean, like, to go back to like real life. Yeah.
yeah. Because it feels like a dream. It feels like, oh man, I was supposed to be. This is what retirement's supposed to feel like.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
100%.
Um, when did you get to travel before? Like when you were a kid, did you get to go and see different places, different states, different countries, or was this just when you got older?
Yeah, I mean, I think like so when my mom and I would always road trip when I was young, and then when for on like summer we'd leave my dad here and go on a road trip. But yeah, when I guess the first time like I went to Europe was we did a European press tour for the Brady Bunch that was
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah,
It was amazing. It was like a trip that, like we each had our own chauffeur, like it was just out of control, top notch, whatever. And we did no, wait, where'd we go? England and Germany for that. And then yeah, and then I, bounced around Europe a little here and there, but really, I guess when I was like, maybe I was young, maybe like 21. I no older. Sorry. Yeah, probably like 23. I went to Hong Kong for the first time by myself. I was just like, I want to go to Hong Kong. And that's when I really, I mean, I had been places alone before. I had taken like trips to France and whatever, and Scotland and stuff, but that's when I really was like, okay. And then um years after that, I was when I went to New Zealand I've been to New Zealand 3 times, but I went there for the first time for a Comic-Con. I was like, this is paradise, and which they've proven over and over again.
yeah,
Now it's like now the secret's out and everyone knows New Zealand's
yeah.
awesome. First, no, it's great. And I went there like 3 years in a row for a month each time, and just road tripped and like, oh my god, like best country on earth. So yeah, I just like kind of have that travel bug, and then like luckily too, so I will just travel just regardless, but then luckily too through like comic cons and whatnot. So like last year I did, which was cool, was they were actually both on military bases. One was in Okinawa and one was in Tokyo. And I was this time last year I was in Japan for a month, because what will happen is I'll go to a con, and a con's only 2 days, but then I'll
Yeah.
stay for like weeks,
Mhm.
and spend all the money that I made at the con, and not actually make any money, but I'll be
Yeah.
like, great, this pays for my trip. Um, so yeah, so last year I was lucky. I went to Malaysia and Borneo and Singapore for a month, and then I went to Japan for a month. So I'm lucky that like this year there was no travel,
Yeah.
because I feel like I satiated it a little bit last year. But I'm just starting to like, it's been a year now, so I'm like, I'm getting the itch. I'm like, where can we go? And the only places we're allowed to go are really like Mexico and Jamaica.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I could make it work.
Yeah.
Mexico scares me a little bit. I have to be honest. It really like, and I'm not like a scared person in that way, but I'm just like, that cartel, man,
Oh, yeah.
and like people die in Mexico, like they do.
Oh,
And I've known a couple people who died in Mexico. I just like, it kind of like wigs me out a
it'll
little
it would be hard to go down there and relax when
bit.
so when I was in San Diego, I was over there, and I was in there from 2011 to like roughly 2012 because I caught a deployment going to Jacksonville and everything like that. So it was very sporadic in the places I was at. But while I was here, I remember we were one exit away from Mexico, where we stayed at,
Sure.
and we stayed off of Palm Ave in San Diego. And whenever I'd go home, come off a base, you see this huge mountain, right, and the huge gate separating our country from their country, and
Yeah.
then it's just this huge flag, the Mexican flag. So I remember getting home one day and then turning on the news, and this is when the cartel had taken 2 trucks, and then they stopped them on the interstate and they had tarps over them. and they just got out and left them. One tarp truck was severed heads, and the other one was the bodies that the heads went to, and the cartel just left them there. And I'm sitting here watching.
Send a message, or just because they were just lazy, or
like, Paco, you left the trucks, man. What?
I don't know, man. Like,
I want to say it was to send a message because during this time, this is 2012, somewhere around that time frame. So, you know, it was already starting to heat up. Everybody was really, the tensions were already running high. So I don't know really what it was, but there was a lot of cartel hits. I think that the government might have been in an influx because they were trying to vote in people and trying to vote out people and all this other stuff in Mexico. So I think it was just a crazy turbulent time at that time. But I just remember like, man, this has completely killed any hopes of me going across and enjoying Mexico.
Yeah, that, and then like, you just hear like, even at the resorts, like they'll have like, there was a thing a couple years ago where like there was like fake booze, like top shelf booze, but
Yeah,
they put like
sick.
fake, yeah, and people were getting sick, and like, you know, I just all like, Sheryl Sandberg's husband like died on a treadmill at a Mexican resort, like all that stuff is just shady to me, and I just yeah, and that it's a bummer because like, of all the languages I could speak, it's or I can't speak any languages, I should say. Of all the languages I can't speak, Spanish is a little bit I can. And I've been to Colombia and stuff, which is beautiful and great. Yeah, Colombia is like it. But yeah, I don't know, and it's there's really cool parts and there's great culture and all that. I just I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't fuck with Mexico. I just don't.
For me, they've got like my favorite food of all time has always been Southern food. And there's nothing that can beat fried chicken for me. But when it comes to anything other than Southern food, it's hands down Mexican is my go-to right after the bat.
So can you get good Mexican food in Florida, or is it all Cuban?
When you cook like me, everything tastes like Mexican. Everything tastes like Thanksgiving. Everything. So
okay.
I don't mean to showboat and gloat, but I can do.
Okay.
But there is some really, really good Mexican places. And one of the best Mexican food places I've ever had was actually in Norfolk, Virginia, of all places. You know, you would think Virginia, you're not known for Mexican.
I had great Thai food in Louisiana once, so yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's some hit or miss places, or there's some places that are really, really good. But Florida, compared to LA, Chicago, New York, big places, Houston, Dallas, we're about 10 to 15 years behind most people's food trends. Like what was hot 10 years ago is just starting to get hot here in Florida.
Sure. But even New York, you're not getting like amazing Mexican food. I mean, we're very spoiled here in LA, where it's like,
it's just, I loved being able to not only get avocados on the side of the road for a whole bag, $5, and then you go to the store, you go to Ralph's, and it's $5 for one.
Yeah,
that was fantastic. But also, I miss the Mexican street corn dude that would just run up and down the streets and elote, oh, come on, brother, put that shit on. We're gonna go. You know, I miss. So we're not as spoiled as LA when it comes to great Mexican food, but there are some good places here.
And you got your Southern food.
Oh man, like I said, if I could eat
as far south as you can get.
I mean, if you could fry chicken and I could eat it all day, I'd probably be 400 pounds, but I think I'm happy. So, but to segue, because I don't want to keep you too much longer, I always like to hit that hour mark, and I don't ever want to go too far with you guys. So whenever I start wrapping up, I always ask some simulation. Jesus Christ, today. I always ask some question that is similar in a sense, but it's not really. So what I mean by that is when you think of all the stuff you've worked on, from Bratz to Avatar, to the Brady Bunch, you know, that little movie that you talked about earlier, huge. And then you've got everything else. Which one would you say now gives you the most satisfaction, or you felt the most rewarded for?
Like in my soul, like have fond memories of, or like, what do you mean? Or wait.
So when you think of like, things going on, right? So you think of all the shows. Yeah, I guess like.
Or do you mean like
emotional?
Physically rewarded.
We'll go both. We'll go one physical and one emotional if they're different. Which one soothes your soul?
I don't know about if any of them soothe. That's a bold statement. But Brady Bunch is like my childhood,
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of time like doing that, and that also like facilitated me getting other work and things like that. So that's definitely like the thing for
Yeah.
me, personally. And I love Hey Arnold. Same thing. The main projects that I worked on as a child, are very. Now you're just like, it's more, for me anyway. I don't know. You're more like, paycheck driven,
Yeah.
you know. But as a kid, it's more about, and there's, honestly, I mean, there's terrible things you work on as a kid too, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is awful. I did this series of commercials once, and the director every time would wear a mask because he didn't know how to like direct kids, so he wore like a Fred Flintstone mask. It was just, you know,
That seems
crazy shit.
really weird.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. Um,
Did he do a good Fred Flintstone
pretty
impersonation?
weird. No, it was pretty weird.
What?
Um, but so not completely that way. That everything we do as a kid is great. But yeah, so definitely, I think those two projects for sure are like my all time. Like when I see it, I'm like, oh, there's no bad. I'll put it this way: there's no bad memories associated with that. Whereas like other projects, not Avatar, but other TV shows and things that I've done, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a shit show, or like that person was an asshole or whatever it
Yeah.
was, or like, but both of those projects have like zero negativity attached to them for me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, if you could bring back out of those three that you mentioned, so the Brady Bunch, the Hey Arnold, and the Avatar,
Yeah.
if you could physically go to a series right now, which one are you taking?
Oh, Hey Arnold for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Now, would you want to play Rhonda again, or would you want to do a different character if you could choose?
No, it's always fun to be bad.
Yeah. You always, for me personally, I always like those characters that weren't, um, so you had black and white. I always like those characters that were gray, right? The Batman, the
Sure.
guy that wasn't afraid to, take it to another level, or a guy that showed a different dimension.
Yeah, and it's fun to play drama too, like
Yeah.
highs and lows and all that, angst and all that stuff is very fun.
Did you have to get in a different headspace, or since you were so young, you were already kind of,
No.
your emotions and everything are going all over the place because you're growing and you're seeing stuff, or
No, I mean, I've been doing this since I was like 2 years old. So I'm so dialed into that. And like, as an actor and as a kid actor, I think especially like, no bad days. Like you're not allowed to like, if you're sick, you're going to work. If
yeah,
you're like feeling bad, like you're going to work. Like had a bad day, like you're going to work. Like it doesn't really matter.
yeah,
So I mean, like, yeah, I'm sure there were days where like I was like, I don't feel like doing this today, but it doesn't factor into
yeah,
you know the world.
I feel you.
Yeah, so I like, for me, like my husband for example grew up normal or whatever. So like I can snap out of a bad mood or like be like, oh, I don't want to do this and I'm going to do it anyway and I'm going to put a smile on my face and you'll never be able to tell.
Yeah.
And for him, like that's a lot harder because he didn't grow up that way. But no, I mean, fake it till you make it, right?
Man, I use that
Yeah,
almost on a consistent basis.
got to.
It hasn't failed me yet,
Yeah.
When in doubt, Google or YouTube works fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Makes you really look professional. Uh,
Yeah.
when you said you can, switch that, or you can flip that switch,
Mm.
do you think that's made you a better person, or you can get through some shit that most people can't, or how do you
Probably
think
made
that's
me
made
a
you
sociopath. We're laughing now. No, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tool. Like, that's the thing about like kid acting. Like, if you survive,
feel?
it gives you these incredible tools, right? But that's, if you survive, because there are literally dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it definitely, acting's a great tool because, life is, a lie for the most part, right? I mean, most people are kind of faking their daily existence, and maybe they're not. I don't know. Most people I talk to, if they're honest, are.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a way of like, and I think too, there's a lot of I don't give in to my emotions,
Yeah.
and so I think, yeah, part of it is just like it toughens you up in that way, which is a good thing, because when you give in, and not to say that it's not good to be sad or angry or whatever, but sometimes you got to just toughen the fuck up and
Yeah.
get through it. So yeah, so it helps in that regard, if that makes sense.
All right, and this is the last question. And
Okay.
when you sit down and then you've taken the microphone and then you've put it up for the last time, right?
Yeah.
You're not stepping on another set again.
Okay.
When you sit back and you look, this might be a two-parter. So when you sit back and you look, right, and you think, "Hey Arnold," what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Oh, I just have just nothing but love for that show. And like I was at the beach with Craig Bartlett this past weekend, um we were hanging out.
A hard man to get a hold of, I'll tell you that. He's
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure.
So busy.
He is very busy.
Yeah.
And he's finishing up his movie right now and other stuff. And he has a lot of people trying to get a hold of him. But he's a sweetheart, and to me, he's a total creative genius.
Oh yeah.
And he will, let me look at his sketchbooks. And I mean, it's just, he is my husband and I talk about this, like he's a goal for aging, because he's, I guess, in his 60s now, and he's like still so creative, still so curious, like always talking about a movie he's seen or and a book he's reading and like a song he's listening to, and he's a musician, and like he just loves life.
Yeah.
And he has stayed curious.
And that's refreshing.
And yeah, it's so great. It's really cool. Because I think a lot of people where people misstep as they age is they think they're a finished product.
Yeah.
And they kind of stop learning. And we were sitting there on the beach, and dude was like trying to learn Spanish and stuff on his phone, and reading a book, and all this other stuff. So yeah, there's a curiosity about him that's just super lovely, and again, he's just like
salt of the earth, it sounds like.
Yeah, he really is, and he's a super creative person, and it's like lovely to be around. So yeah, I have nothing but like love for that show, and I talk to Andy, who played Phoebe, all the time, and yeah, I just all good vibes,
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I gotta say, man, I really appreciate it. I love this show growing up.
I'm so glad.
I love this show now. My kids watching it now, so it's going to be that thing where it's always passed down. It's going to be that Stephen King book that gets passed down, that TV show that gets passed down. This is going to be something.
It's timeless.
It is. It doesn't matter how old you are. This show, Hey Arnold, as soon as that first beat drops and you hear Hey Arnold, you are transported back in time, right? I've had, like I said, so much fun talking with you tonight. I really appreciate you doing this.
Of course.
Appreciate all you guys that work so hard on this show. Is there anything that you can talk about that you're working on that you might want to tell people? Hey,
not really. I just did this like Star Wars audiobook that just came out, but I have this big thing, like it's a big franchise that's coming out. I can't talk about it. In fact, I just got in trouble for talking about it, so no, I really can't.
You're perfectly fine. Where can they stay tuned and find out what Olivia's working on down the road when you can?
Hit me up on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, but I never go on Twitter. I don't even know how to use Twitter. I'm old. So just hit me up on Instagram, Olivia Hack 1, because there's someone with my name that has never posted anything. It's cool. Well, yeah.
Fantastic. She is Olivia Hack 1.
Yep.
We are what's in your podcast head? I don't know. Fuck, man. I'm gonna have to put this shit on here so people can see it and they can go to it, because I don't even know what exactly. Changed it twice at this point. But like I said before, thank you so much for taking the time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You guys on down the road. Keep crushing it, and enjoy those beer tacos, because I'm super.
I will. I'm very excited. This weekend, Sunday.
Thank you again. You have a great night, and
thanks.
Talk to you later.
You too.